Hi guys, welcome back. Welcome back to my little studio. If this is your first time, I'm Reese. Welcome. So if you happen to catch my video last week, I talked a lot about how I use journals to record things that I'm thankful for, observations of nature, observations of beauty, to keep myself in a positive mindset. Especially if you're having a rough time, I think it's really important to have a positive mindset, but I think we all need that these days with the world being as crazy as it is. So I was also watching some videos about bookbinding. I've always been kind of interested in bookbinding and the process of maybe making your own journal or that sort of thing, or a book. But I'm not ready to go full on book, but it made me start thinking about making my own little journal that I could carry with me. So what I did was I decided that I would make my own little pamphlet, and I used a lino cut that I had previously cut before and put this guy together, especially since that we are coming upon the fall holidays now with Halloween and of course Thanksgiving being right around the corner. I thought, what a great idea to have something just ready to go in my purse to observe all the things that I'm thankful for on the go. So anyways, that's what I'm going to be sharing with you, how I put this together today. So I just want to go over some of the materials that I used in making my pamphlet before I start showing you the process. I got some wax linen threads, some binders needles. I actually bought a kit, and then I bought these binder needles from Lino, and then I've got a bone folder. It's not made out of bone, but the purpose of that is when you're folding paper, you can press the seam down to make a nice, good folded piece of paper. But they're just made out of plastic now. And I've got some handy little scissors that look like a crane, and I actually have these for embroidery work as well. I occasionally like to play around with embroidery. And my kit came with a nice little short ruler. And then I have this little tool for punching holes in the paper. So and this is just a small version of what my book looked like or looks like. And I wanted to show a sample of this because actually trying to pull the real thread through all those holes was a little taxing, so it doesn't look very graceful, but I wanted to be able to show you quickly how this works. So in this particular pamphlet, so there's multiple pieces of paper that are seated, like I think there were five different sheets that I put together, seated together. And then when I take the thread, after I've punched these holes, and you'll see that in my video later, me punching these holes in my actual pamphlet, you take a little bit of thread, and this is just some inexpensive thread just for the demo, quick demo here that I'm going to do, and it should be twice the length of your pamphlet or the book that you're trying to bind. And so for this particular pamphlet sewing instructions, you start inside, just like this, inside and this is with the multiple pieces of paper together. And you take it all the way in until you just have a little tail hanging out. And then from the outside on number 2, you go back inside like that. And then to hole number 1 out towards the front. Just like that. And then back in through hole number 2, like this, not pulling too tight, and then you skip hole number 3 in this particular instance, skipping over your tail, going into hole number 4, like that. And then on the other side, we're going back into number 5 inside, like that. And then going back to number 4, going back outside again. And then on the other side, you can see all you need to do is go back through your original hole, which was hole number 3, like that. And you can pull everything and make sure that your threads are all nice and tight. And usually what I like to do is this is based off somebody else's instructions and I kind of agree with it, was making sure that your tail is on one side of that long thread and your new string is on the other side. And then you can cut it, leave it long enough for you to tie a knot. And then when you get the knot all taut, and if you want to, you can leave a longer tail so that you don't have any problems making a tail. And then you can cut it as short as you want inside, of course. You don't have to leave it very big at all, like that. So that is how I actually went through and did the actual hand sewing part. But then when it came to doing my lino print part, this I had already cut, my little tree. I had cut this several years ago, to be honest with you. And so I have that. Then I have a roller for rolling the ink. And I've got a piece of sign. You could use glass or plastic or metal, whatever you have, that you can clean up your ink off of pretty easily. And I've got, either you can use Speedball's little carving tool set, and there's several blades inside. This is what I started with, was this little Speedball kit. Carving, linoleum, and rubber stamps. And I even actually started with these Speedy Carve Speedball rubber stamp blocks, which are fairly affordable. But then I graduated up to using these feels, these wooden feels, for carving linoleum and block cutters. And of course it works on the rubber block that I just showed you the Speedball makes. Then I used this fabric printing ink that Speedball makes, that you can either print on fabric, which I've done before, and you can also use it on paper. So that's what I did today. And then once you have your linoleum all inked up and you put it down on the piece of paper, then you use this little tool here, which is called a baron, to really put pressure, strong, even pressure, onto the linoleum piece that you're trying to transfer, and use that to get the ink to completely transfer onto the paper. So that's all the tools I used today. So for a portion of today's video, there's going to be a lot of quiet time as I'm going through the process of actually making my pamphlet slash sketchbook, because I cannot have a long chatty conversation easily when I'm doing a whole lot of problem solving. So I hope that you will just enjoy my random chatter and just the noise of actually binding and printing the book. This first part is all about the binding process, and then I'll be going into the process of printing the linoleum cut onto my cover. And then I'll come back towards the end with more of a overall analysis of how I feel about my product and how it all turns out. So I hope you enjoy the quiet time. here I will cut my thread and okay, finally. Feels like it's awfully thick for our purposes, but okay, well, going in through this hole. This hole here. And then past this, I probably need to make sure these things are big enough now. And past this one. Here. My results were okay after printing my lino block onto my little pamphlet, but there was a little inconsistencies. I haven't done this in a while, so a little bit of forgiveness on my own little pamphlet is fine, I think. A few things where the ink did not transfer 100%, I feel I can touch up a little bit since this is my own personal little item. But down in the rivers where the cut was, some of the ink got down into those little holes, and I see a little bit of beading from that. So it's not a perfect print, but it's good enough. Good enough for me. I'm happy with it. It's kind of cool, kind of spooky-ish, like Sleepy Hollow, I think. So my next step that I want to do is I want to do some words right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some tracing paper to kind of lay out how I want that to look. And then I'm going to transfer it. And I'm doing the tracing paper option first because I want it to line up just perfectly. So that's what I'm going to be doing right now. I'd already kind of designed what I want it to kind of look like in my little design. And I want it to say, choosing thankfulness. So I know I want a straight line. And I'm going to map out what this line is right here. And this is about the width of my pamphlet. I'm going to line up that line there with here. Just give myself a guideline. Okay, so I could actually even use kind of what I've got here, but I can see that it's a little wonky. So I want to straighten out my wonkiness, but I like this particular line. So I'm going to do that. Thankfulness. Choosing thankfulness. Something like that. Probably right about there, I think is where I will want it. So I want that to line up there. So now what I want to do, there's a couple ways you could do this. You could either use some transfer paper on the back, like the stuff that you used to use on the old-timey typewriters, if you know what I'm talking, carbon paper. And or you could just do like this and use graphite as a transfer. Or you can actually just copy what we just did, like this. That. All right. Alrighty, going back to where I want this to be. Oh, be careful. All right. Okay, got my basic transfer down. Okay. Choosing thankfulness. So that's pretty much how it looks on the cover. And the beautiful brown threading that I used for the binding. It's really pretty. Turned out nice. It was a bit of a struggle, but it was nice. Turned out lovely, I think, all in all. For a handmade object. I think one thing I think would be nice is if this was done in a brown ink. That would have been pretty as well. It would have complemented the brown thread. And you could probably do that, go back over it with maybe some brown ink so that it would have brown tone to it. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing anything else to this. I've thought of several things at this point, but I'm gonna have to test it. I might see if I can actually use some watercolor to make this paper more brown. Or if I ever did this again, I would color my paper ahead of time for my cover. And instead of it being, it's white and the colors inside are like a very ivory color. So is there a slight difference? But I know it was a challenge keeping my hands clean through this process. So I might have to tweak it a bit. This was all a test. But I thought it was a really nice thing to do, and I really like the Lino press, the way it turned out for the most part. I just still need to touch it up when it's 100% dry, maybe in a couple hours. But if I make any more tweaks to it, of course I'll share with you. But my final thoughts on this are, whether you choose to make a pamphlet yourself, or if you choose to just use a moleskin to record observations of beauty or things you're thankful for, your thoughts, things to remind you to stay positive and look towards the beauty in life. But that's just my thoughts, basically going back to my thoughts in last week's video about having a thankfulness journal, and some of the things that I've used in the past being the moleskin, and now I've got something totally new for the fall season and choosing thankfulness. So I hope that you found today's video fun and informative and maybe inspiring. You could even doodle something on your cover if you choose to hand make your little pamphlet, if you choose to make one of these. You could even do a watercolor of a flower or something, cut it out and paste it on the top here. So there's so many options to do something creative and to start tracking all those beautiful blessings in your life, something that's small and easy to carry. So that's my thoughts, and I hope you guys have a beautiful, blessed, and creative week ahead, and I'm wishing you all well. See you next week. Bye. 안녕. Bye.